Welcome to the 5D Shift podcast with Openhand. It's where we take a higher dimensional perspective, an ascended master perspective at the tremendous tumultuous changes happening on the planet right now. How you can find alignment of soul within it and therefore uplift your life, fulfill sense of purpose and find your real motivation and direction. Have the universe support you, come in and help you with everything that you then shape, form, create in your life. And in this episode, I want to look at a philosophy called the Soul Ray Harmonic. It's about taking an in-depth look at what the soul is really all about, what comprises it, what to watch for, what to attune, so that you can have maximum beneficial impact in your life. Stay with me. I'll be right back in a minute or so. We've entered a pivotal moment in Earth's history. People in all walks of life are waking up and challenging the 3D shadow system. They're turning away from the fake stream, going inwards and igniting the passion of their soul. We're shifting consciousness into 5D. What does that mean exactly? How and when will it happen? Openhand is a higher dimensional ascended master consciousness working to illuminate the pathway forwards through the stormy transition. But this is never about telling you the truth. It's about offering essential insights into the shift, tools, meditations, and spiritual practice so you can realize your own truth. Because ascension to 5D is something only you can actualize for yourself. Get involved. Explore, inquire, expand, liberate your soul. Of course, being is the change is something that's been spoken about in the spiritual mainstream for a long while. But I do believe being is misunderstood in that case, and often it's the sense of just sitting back and allowing life to happen around you. Well, I would say this is one key aspect of beingness, but it is not the full palette of what the soul is able to unleash and express. And if all we're doing is sitting back on the couch of life, so to speak, then the chances are, well, we might feel a degree of contentment, but the chances are we won't necessarily feel fulfilled, we won't necessarily grow as a soul, and we won't necessarily go with the shift. And so really what I feel, what I believe, certainly in this open-hand approach, is that we need to look at and explore the different facets and qualities of soul, and all pictured, bundled together, if you like. We can call this the Soul Ray Harmonic. So it's various frequencies of the soul that resonate, that activate, that express, and tend to come through in harmonics, like chords on a guitar when you play it. So knowing what these are, being able to watch for them and attune and allow them to come through is going to make all the difference in your life and the shift, because the space-time continuum bends around what you're expressing, what you're putting out there, what you're actualizing as a being. So the Soul Ray Harmonic is a rainbow of these different frequencies. And there are 9 in total. At least there's 9 that Openhand is working with. And we can talk about the Ray 1, for example, of drive, commitment, will, determination. We can talk about the Ray 2 of surrender, of acceptance, of empathy and non-judgmental acceptance of others. We can talk about Ray 3, which is about discerning what is the accurate movement of reality at this moment. This is often called the shamanistic ray, because what you're doing is you're witnessing the patterning of life and how things are clicking in around you to know that you are attuned and aligned with the flow. We can talk about the Ray 4, the diplomacy aspect of the soul, which is about recognizing different truths in the environment around you that other people might have honoring those, but that doesn't necessarily mean compromising yourself or compromising your own truth. It's about holding the dissonance in the moment with an energy of expression and feeling, which is untangling, unraveling, and bringing together an alignment that helps that group, if possible, move together with a certain common objective or aim, like the shift, for example. So this would be the Ray 4 diplomat. Some call it the Christ consciousness, or you could equate it to the Christ consciousness. And then we have the science ray, the Ray 5, which is about recognizing that the universe shapes in creative movement, symbology, in sacred geometry, and being able to see the mathematics, if you like. I am cautious about using that, but maths is also an art. It's about recognizing how things click and start to form and crystallize together, and that then resonates with science and synchronicity. So it's the science ray of metaphysics, and by observing, witnessing it, you can start to bring that to bear in your life too. Then there's the Ray 6 of sovereign beingness, whereby your orientation, your commitment is more to the actualization of self rather than needing a particular outcome. It's about beginning the moment with the actualization of authentic beingness. And it's a driving energy that is a natural, inherent part of the soul. Then there's the Ray 7, which we can call them the ray of magic or alchemy, which is all about being prepared to sit in the unknown of life, but not to extract or detach from the moment. There's an active engagement, an active awareness with the moment. You're observing, but you're not needing an immediate outcome from it. And you're watching for that spark of magic which takes you or starts to move the flow in a particular direction. In fact, as you hold the openness of the unknown, of the infinite potential, and if you can really bring your presence to bear within that, you will be the instigator of spontaneous flashes of right action that then start to move through you. This would be the Ray 7, the alchemist ray. Then there's the Ray 8. So we're working with two new rays, the Ray 8 and the Ray 9. The Ray 8 we're defining as the divine paternal, which is that very steadfast, strong, trustworthy, accomplished kind of feeling. Stoicism, we could say. You kind of sit strong in that energy. The father principle is someone you're meant to be able to rely upon. Not always the case, but it's definitely something that, in its aligned sense, is that we can rely upon it, and we can rely upon ourselves within that energy. And then there's a divine maternal, the Ray 9, which is that very resilient, loving, caring, supportive, resourceful kind of energy. It kind of holds you in an embrace and is very comforting, but not spoon feeding either. That's important to recognize. The ray of consciousness is about holding and uplifting and supporting, but allowing you to walk your own path too. So that's a very brief summary of what Openhand is now bringing forth as the 9 rays. Well, all together they work as the Soul Ray Harmonic. So in any given moment then, you're invited, the soul is wanting to come through with a particular expression, a particular chord of animation. It may be will, drive, commitment. It may be confrontation, but at the same time, an acceptance, an allowance of other people within that. So it might combine with the Ray 4, or it might be very direct, but come in with a humor aspect to it, so that it's delivered in a more empathic, accepting way. So, or there's magic, but then the magic is channeling energy into the Ray 4, which is weaving reality for a group, not just the individual. That's just a few examples of how recognizing these rays and these harmonics is very important, because they want to come through you, they want to express, and if you unleash them, if you untether them, then the space-time continuum bends around them. You're going to be creating from your Soul Ray Harmonic. You're going to be creating from authenticity then. And that's going to feel increasingly fulfilling and rewarding within you. It's a win-win feedback loop with the universe. So this is the value of beginning to recognize the Soul Ray Harmonic. How might you do that? Well, it starts with recognizing key rays. And that often comes by being, well, firstly, you've got to be the witnesser of yourself in life and in your actions and in how you engage within the shift. That's crucial. You're not going to unleash the soul fully at all if you're not observing yourself, witnessing yourself, and taking ownership of the moment. Realizing that it's about the revelation of you and that you're already manifesting everything. So the recognition first that you're creating everything, observing yourself in it, and then often what is key is recognizing when you're expressing a distortion, let's say anger or frustration or even rage. Well, each of these distortions is a distortion of a particular ray. So they might be distortions of ray 1. So the crucial thing is to recognize that they are distortions of authenticity, even though it comes through as rage. The question is, how can you express that energy authentically without the distortion of it that then creates disharmonious environments? So for example, if you recognize anger or frustration, then maybe there's an energy wanting to rise, but you're suppressing it or aren't giving it accurate animation. Maybe there is fear of confrontation, and that's something to look at and to let go of. Let the strong expression come through, but maybe then it wants to blend with another ray, maybe with humor. Maybe you'll ask a question of the other. How do you think that makes me feel when you do that? You're being strong, you're confronting the moment, but you're empowering the other to explore within as to how they might now more authentically respond to you. So this is how you get blends of different energies wanting to come through. And it begins by recognizing distortion. Let's say I get steamrolled all the time and trampled over. Well, maybe I'm not establishing boundaries with the ray 2. I'm very accepting, but not discerning of right action and what also serves oneself within it, because essentially what serves your higher self also serves the higher self of the other. So I need to look at the distortions, own them. This is a major step, because in owning them means you take empowerment of the moment yourself. Well, how can I be different in that? How is the flow and the crystallization of the space-time continuum, the mirror, how is that inviting me to be different? And taking ownership of that, not just blaming the other. The moment I blame the other is the moment I disempower myself, because I lose the capacity to say, well, why did I co-create that? If I take ownership, then I can look at, well, yes, maybe, okay, they were distorted, but here was my distortion. Can I come through more accurately next time? And so by honoring the distortions, I start to open out through them using something like the breakthrough approach that we apply at Openhand, which is really feeling into them, honoring, expressing them, becoming one with them, and then breaking down the attachment to a particular outcome until rightness of Soul Ray Harmonic comes through. So that's a very brief overview of the breakthrough approach. If you want to explore it more deeply, come and get involved with the Openhand work. So you're opening through distortion, and now you start to recognize rightness of soul coming through, and it starts to play in different frequencies of expression and different harmonics. And if you're starting to witness that emergence of soul, you're going to start seeing reflections all around you that confirm, that affirm, if you like, what that expression is being. You might see something in nature, a cat that's telling you to be a particular way, or a bird, or the sense, the feeling of a new flower coming through. We've got some new roses coming through in the Openhand garden, each one a different color, and each one has a different scent to it. And that encourages a different feeling and a different expression depending on what attention is drawn to. So on a particular morning, attention might be drawn to the red rose as opposed to the yellow one. And the red might be more, strong. It might be more committed, might be more inflammatory, shall we say. So what is your attention drawn to? What do you witness going on? And that's helping you attune Soul Ray Harmonic and bring particular qualities of beingness to bear. This is going to have a massive impact because everything is consciousness. You have the Soul Ray Harmonic, which is of unity consciousness emerging from the source, but you have separation consciousness in the field around it. And it's like a magnet. When you express that, then the field crystallizes around what you're being and expressing. It reflects back to you that harmony, or the accuracy of the harmony, or the distortion of it. So either your reality is going to work smoothly and harmoniously, or you're going to get derailed. Ideally, we would like it to work smoothly and harmoniously. This is showing the emergence of soul, the actualization of it, and the forging that leads to evolutionary growth within the shift. So what about goals and aspirations and dreams within all of this? Where do they fit in? Are they even appropriate? Well, let's deal first with setting intention. This is important because it's a common spiritual mainstream viewpoint. Set your intention, you get what you would like to get out on the other side. But who is wanting? It can only be the ego. The presence, if I sit back, I have this planet behind me, the feeling of sitting back in it and being in the presence, then something emerges. It's the Soul Ray Harmonic. So there's no intention with that. There was no intention to create the universe. Otherwise, you'd have to ask, well, who intended it? Where did that being come from? You can postulate everything emerges from the singularity and then forms this oscillating torus of which we all are all a fractal. And so if we observe that as a principle of the emergence and expression of the universe, we are a fractal of that. We are expressing animation of that. And so if we can align with that, we're going to find increasing sense of rightness in who we are and in our lives. So setting intention says, I want an outcome to be better or different. First of all, the ego is making a judgment of what is better or different. And it potentially cuts across the flow. Yes, you can fix a reality bubble for a given period of time by forming an intention. But we are a part of the planet which is moving. We are a part of the solar system which is moving and a part of the galaxy. So fixing my intention, well, how do I know it's fixing intention in line with all of those centers of consciousness? It can't be. Instead, there is a movement which I'm working to pick up, and I'm saying that comes through as a Soul Ray Harmonic, that the one is expressing itself that way. So intention cuts across the flow and disrupts it. So working to break down intentionality creates the open space, but allows for this expression of Soul Ray Harmonic to come through. So what about goals, objectives, and aspirations? Well, there's still value in these, I would say, and they still come through. You're going to feel them coming through automatically. Right? So you might have a vision of a new career that you want to follow, a new job, a new location to go and live in, a new creative possibility, whether it's painting, whether it's music, whether it's craft or some kind like that, or some kind of deep consciousness body work. Maybe you have a feeling, a sense, a goal, an aspiration to move towards these. I'd say there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all, and to be embraced, providing we're clear about how to work with them. So I'm saying that the Soul Ray Harmonic is wanting to express, and in so doing, it's going to start to form crystallizations, reflections of the universe around you and what the universe is coming to create, what it's actualizing as, what it's crystallizing as. So you will get visions, you will get senses and feelings of moving towards something and that it wants to create. But what is important to recognize is that the universe goes through lots of iterations. The torus, the oscillating torus, goes through lots of iterations before it lands. And so it could be something as simple as buying a car. You know, it's often has happened to me, whereby, yeah, what are the particular aspects of the car that are important, whether it's, you know, a stick shift or automatic? What color is it? Is it 4x4? Is it a road car? Does it need to carry baggage? Or is it a fun sporting car, for example? I'm just using an analogy here. Well, often what I've observed is you might be presented a vision of something first. You might see a particular vehicle for sale, for example, and you might see it frequently. Well, what is that vehicle then reflecting to you about beingness, and what wants to come through as the harmonic? Can I just express that? For example, in one particular part of my life, I was seeing a vehicle which had this landscape on the side of it all the time. And it wasn't the vehicle that was important, but the landscape. And the landscape was speaking of adventure. And so by embodying that feeling of adventure, my life in a particular situation, circumstance, started to transform and change simply by the embodiment of adventure. So you might be drawn to a goal, a vision of a particular outcome, a car or a job or whatever it is. I'm just using those metaphors. And you move toward them, you're expressing self, but they might change. And within consciousness, within the Soul Ray Harmonic, is the Ray 3, which is constantly inquiring, how is the field moving now? How is it shaping now? What is it wanting to create now? So I might begin on a particular trajectory, but then shift, move as the creation comes into being. I mean, we see this in the planets revolving around the sun, or the solar system moving around the galaxy. It's not in rigid fixed lines with fixed outcomes. It's a swirling, moving flow. It will create, and our role is to bring into being this creative oscillating flow, yes, but we want to make sure there is aligned creations, manifestations as possible, and that they feel right and connected with the natural flow itself. And then we're acting on a divine higher purpose, and that's really going to feel fulfilling as they land. So this is how we can work with goals and objectives and aspirations. Hold them, yes. Work towards them, yes. But hold the outcome of them lightly. Now that doesn't mean to say we don't push into them or lean into them. The frictions of life are there to help forge soul in life's crucible. So recognize that commitment, drive, and will are necessary, but hold the actualization of it, hold the goal itself lightly, and work not to attach to it, which is often easier said than done. How do we manage to work in a committed way towards goals and objectives, but not being attached to them? Here's a great challenge and a conundrum. And I think it boils down to understanding what's your why in life. What do I mean by that? I mean, what are the motivations that really drive you? if you can come into alignment with your why, then you're going to come into alignment with the purpose of your life. And I do believe it relates to the Soul Ray Harmonic. So let's just look at what's your why for a moment. Firstly, we need to get past the repetitive loops of behaviors that have people acting, functioning, performing in a particular way day in, day out. Because it's very hard to get to true underlying motivation if you're constantly reactive to what is demanded of you within the matrix. So it's watching where we get into repetitive loops and working to break them down. Now you might say, well, that's okay, but I have a work to go to on a particular day. Sure, I understand that. It doesn't stop you, for example, from changing the path you go to work, getting up earlier, maybe going via the park, feeding the ducks, for example. And that might make you feel different through the day. And when you're in work, what about, instead of just focusing on productivity, what you've got to get out, or what the work demands of you, how can I be differently in that? How can I bring my consciousness to bear whilst I'm in it? So even though I'm in apparently repetitive behaviors and loops of activity, I can still break open the need for a specific outcome and focus more on sense of being as I'm acting and expressing through the day. This is going to be crucial to unleashing beingness. Okay, so that's important for breaking down what's driving any given moment, breaking down the surface level reactivity. And now I'm getting to the underlying movements and drive and purpose. It might be that I need to furnish resources. I understand that. But let's be clear. The Soul Ray Harmonic, the soul, is not concerned about furnishing resources. Why? Resources are the effect of the expression of the Soul Ray Harmonic, not the cause. Which means that if you express authentically, accurately as the soul, you are going to furnish resources to fulfill that, because you're crystallizing the quantum field. That's in effect what resources are. They are the effect, the landing effect of the crystallization of the quantum field. And so by coming more from that, you're going to crystallize more authentically. So breaking down, deepening into, well, yes, I need to furnish resources, but then going deeper, recognizing this is the effect of unleashing authentic being. So now I'm able to deepen into, well, what's my why? Why am I really doing this? What is the purpose of my life? If I can understand that, it's going to make me more effective in what I do. I would say to you that the purpose of life is to express and actualize itself. That's what it seems to be doing. If you look at nature, if you look at any creature, sentient life form, it seems to be always presenting the grandest, greatest version of itself and working to iterate to the next version. That's what we can say is evolution. And so by acknowledging, accepting that as a driving force of the Soul Ray Harmonic is going to make you more aligned with that, and it's going to become more fulfilling and rewarding in so doing. But even within that, there will likely be a context in which your Soul Ray Harmonic wants to express. What do I mean? We tend to come in to this life, this incarnation, with particular inquiries and particular soul contracts. Might be, for example, to awaken star seeds. It might be to support the shift. It might be to help humanity. It might be to help star beings have gotten stuck in the 4D, for example. It might be to help Mother Earth. You might be aware, you might start to become aware of these different impulses and motivations and interests that really drive you. And this is because the Soul Ray Harmonic doesn't come in the same each time. It might lead on a particular ray, like the ray 1 or the ray 4, because of the inquiry or the soul contracts that it's coming in with. So knowing the Soul Ray Harmonic is crucial, but getting to understand what it's trying to achieve, its purpose and its orientation within life on the planet is also going to be crucial. How can you know then what your why is within that context? It starts with your interests. So explore what are 3 key interests that you might have in life, whether that's a healing art, whether it's creativity, music, or art, for example, or it could be deep consciousness, body work, nature, you name it. What are your key interests? And there will be 3 that tend to be most accentuated and start to converge or can converge around a particular activity. For me, it was, for example, coaching, working with groups, working with body work, and understanding the nature of how reality works. They were passions that, or interests that formed a passion to move forward, to express and animate within that passion. That became my why, my context for being here, then seemed to shape effortlessly because it was in relation to the shift and ascension into 5D. So very quickly, very clearly, the interests arose, the passion from that, the context it was in, and from that, the why. This is why I'm doing things. This is why I'm committed to things. It's because of the fulfillment of that energy. I'm less interested in how it actualizes, although it's wrong to say I'm not interested. I am, definitely. But I'm keen to see the reflections of that expression, because then I'm working to attune a more accurate expression of this energy, this feeling, this passion, this why, because then when I do, it becomes increasingly aligned, and it's like clicking in around you. It's like falling into the stream itself and going with the stream, and nothing can be more rewarding and fulfilling than that. That's my observance of it. So understanding and getting to know your why, it's not something that will necessarily come just like that. You've really got to inquire and uncover, and it might result in some uncomfortable realizations. You know, you might realize you've created a landscape which doesn't really work for you, and then it's got to be unwound and untethered, unpackaged, if you like. And that's not necessarily comfortable. It might be in relationships or a particular living situation you've created that might have to change. So it's important to honor that it's not always easy to untether, unpackage, and reveal, unleash your purpose, meaning, and your why. But nevertheless, until you honor it and allow it, you're not going to be fulfilled in life. So moving with it will start to unravel, untether the old reality and reshape something new, which will likely have many elements of that reality, but shaped, formed, expressed in a different way. So getting to know your why is essential, but it's not always easy or comfortable, and you're going to have to work with it. But aligning with it is going to bring fulfillment in your life, and it's utterly essential, therefore. What about joy, happiness, and contentment? Because so often you hear people saying, well, I just want to be happy in life, or I just want to be content in life. I would say these are dangerous traps to get into. Why? Because joy and happiness, to me, I would reflect, come from, they are expressions, they're feelings that come and go, and I'm not able to control them. Joy might happen, for example, naturally at the landing of a creation. Something happens and you feel joy because it's created. Or likewise, something breaks and falls apart and I might feel sadness. It's completely okay to feel sadness, as well as joy. If I attach simply to joy, then the risk is I'm limiting how I work, move, express, and how I grow. I might then attach to particular situations and circumstances that actually get less and less fulfilling and joyful. I'm strangling the juice, the life out of them by controlling, constricting them. And it leads to inertia and unfulfillment. What about contentment? Can I find contentment? Well, yes and no, I would say. Firstly, in order to grow, in order to unleash and forge the Soul Ray Harmonic, I'm going to need to be pretty much constantly working. It's an infinite game, which I can always win at if I know that's what's engaging me and that's what I'm engaged within. So really in any given moment, I'm not looking for the outcome. I'm looking for what's the best iteration of me that I can bring through in that moment. And if I'm constantly working with that, improving that, actualizing that, alchemizing that, I was going to say, then I'm going to feel rewarded. I'm going to feel fulfilled. This is going to feel exciting, even if and when it gets difficult. And it is going to get difficult to forge in this density, for example. So contentment, well, I'm content that I'm actualizing, I'm content that I'm forging, but I'm not necessarily content in how that fully presents. What I'm more content within is the feeling of this sense of mastery which is behind it, which is sitting in it, which is the source of it as the Soul Ray Harmonic emerges, shapes and forms. That I call the sacred ground of being. And by mastery, I'm using the term not in terms of trying to master a particular situation or circumstance, or claiming or saying that one is a master because of that. I'm saying that you're mastering the sense of self and you're settling into that, and you're able to be connected into that no matter what is expressing externally. That brings contentment. So that's the curious dynamic of being content within that empowerment and being prepared to be the fool because you fail, as the Soul Ray Harmonic is looking for a new expression. Interestingly, being the fool or being prepared to be the fool does lead to the sense of mastery of self and deep acceptance of self. So then I need to be careful of getting attached to being content in the external and in the world, or being happy, because these are transient, being joyful, I should say, because okay, happiness is a word. I could feel happy just in the contentment of self, the mastery of self. I could call that happy, although to me I don't recognize that as happiness. It's a kind of yes, here, arrival, awesome okayness. It's that feeling. But I wouldn't necessarily associate it as happiness. Whereas if I watch a bird in nature or a rose in my garden, that would bring me happiness potentially, or joy, but that would come and go. The bird disappears, the flower disappears, and something else might happen. So I don't believe in attaching to a particular state like that, but allowing it to arise and happen. But in the background, there is this contentment of mastery. And having said that, even that is always growing, evolving, and forming a new, deepening sense of it. So that, for me, is the contentment, is the allowance of that, is the settling into that. But all the while, unleashing Soul Ray Harmonic, because that's happening anyway, and bringing consciousness to bear, bringing awareness into it, leaning into it, from this place of centeredness, leaning into it, actualizing, expressing it. And then I believe you really hit the sweet spot of life itself, and it feels like rightness. So things start to happen, your expression starts to form, and then there's this click inside within you, and you've hit the sweet spot of life in that moment. And when that happens, when you consciously feel that, wow, that is beyond words, and it's beyond value. It's the recognition of destiny being fulfilled. Now you're in the sweet spot of your life, of your expression, within the context of the shift that you're engaged within. And I would say that by aligning with that is going to bring you fulfillment, sense of purpose and meaning to every single moment of your life. What could be better? What I'd like to do is guide a meditation, which is something we often do in the Openhand work, and it's the singing chakra meditation. How is this helpful? How is it important? Because you're getting out of the mind and you're allowing expression through the chakras. And in so doing, you're helping attune the chakras, but where the sound comes through in a distorted or restricted way, where you're gaining guidance into how a particular soulful expression might be being restricted as well. And that isn't to then self-judge. Here's another important aspect of allowing growth and being content with self. It's important not to self-judge, but to say, why is that tight? Why is my throat tight right now, or my third eye, or my sacrum? And you might not get an immediate answer, but then crucially to ask, show me, and watch, observe, see why. Maybe the solar plexus is tight because there's too much rigidity in life and decision making, for example. So let's do this singing chakra meditation, and then I invite you afterwards, simply in life, to witness, well, what is being reflected to me? Colors, signs, synchronicity, resistances, reactivity, these things. Okay. So I'm going to sing the note in a particular chakra, and when you hear me starting to sing, then come and join in. Base chakra then. The note is Sa, deep breath. Sa. And feeling as you sing, sacrum, Ray, deep breath. Ray. Solar plexus, Ga, deep breath. Ga. And feel the expansion as you sing. Heart, Ma, deep breath. Ma. Throat, Pa, deep breath. Pa. Third eye, Da, deep breath. Da. Slight bit of restriction. Eighth chakra, Sa, deep breath. Sa. And then feel, just sense. You may feel some activations going on. A feeling of aliveness maybe, activation, awareness, but also maybe you can touch, feel inside of you the contentment of being in your sacred ground. So just an example of the kinds of things we can work with within chakra attunement, something we do frequently with more varied and different and stronger iterations in the Openhand work. Come and get involved if it intrigues you. In conclusion then, it's utterly priceless to get to know what your Soul Ray Harmonic is really all about, what different frequencies want to come through in different environments, in different contexts, in the way you work, rest, play, the whole 9 yards. What are your interests? What's your passion? And then what really fuels your why? Because coming into alignment with that is going to make your life much more fulfilling and rewarding. Even when you hit resistances, and you are going to do that, if you're in line with your why, and the universe, the landscape is shaping around that, reaffirming it, then there's the commitment, the drive to push through, to unravel through. So you know that it's not just about letting go with acceptance, for example, but actually working to forge, to push through. So knowing your why helps you realize the landscape you're in, what the purpose is, what your soul contract is in that moment, and unleashing Soul Ray Harmonic through your life. And allowing this working as an orientation and motivation in your life is going to greatly change the landscape and the effect and how you experience life, how you grow within it. What true success is, for example, which I put to you, is when you really feel that clicking in of that aha moment of, yes, I'm in my rightness and this is happening according to destiny of fulfillment, even if the external world doesn't recognize it and you're in a minority of one. No worries. You feel your destiny as an expression actualizing through you. This is the power of the Soul Ray Harmonic. And I encourage all to come and explore, investigate what that's all about. I wish you well with that. Namaste. Been inspired? Then get involved with the revolutionary work of Openhand. Join us on seminars and retreats, online and terrestrial, for groundbreaking meditations, illuminating self-realizations, and plenty of fun. It's all supporting the great planetary shift to 5D consciousness. Join kindred spirits today. Visit openhandweb.org.